Let's get the doors open before 2030 from Geri Gadgets. I'm Angela Fairhurst. I'm the CEO and founder of Geri Gadgets. My mom was misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's. Early signs of Lewy body were like the blood pressure would drop and she would be dizzy and she would faint, and she was a real fall risk. She would write bills multiple times on one bill and then not write another, and then be really angry with somebody. So she was the paranoia, all that stuff was kind of funny. And so she had a pacemaker put in. And when you give somebody anesthetic, they're off the charts crazy. And when they have dementia, so I go to the hospital and she picks up her purse and she's like, where are my keys? And she doesn't have any idea where she is. And after 4 years, it just didn't help. She was like getting lost in the garage, all the stuff. What was happening is the Lewy body, they're hallucinating.
Yeah.
And you can't give somebody with Lewy body anti-hallucinants. They make someone fall out of the cuckoo's nest, insane, crazy. What are we going to do? So she goes into this care home community that's a big, kind of very expensive place. She's literally had the 6 hospitalizations with antipsychotics, and the 7th one, thank God she lived, right? This time I couldn't believe she actually lived that many times, made it through, and then we changed care homes. She recovered. I don't know how she recovered. Once she made it out of this one, they finally properly diagnosed her with Lewy body dementia. Yeah. So I see her playing with the magazine, touching the magazine and tearing the paper and feeling it. And I see this sensory need and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, right? Well, I'm going to bring her because she's, again, dangerous and she's difficult. She's not going to sit still for television.
No.
So I bring, the bucket the kids have with the shapes and she's got a hand, right? She picks up the little shapes and she's like sipping on them, and okay, that's not going to work. But I like the idea of a bucket. I like the idea of a container, right? So then I take for the pots and pans and I cut it and I throw them back and forth with her, and she can catch. And it's like, oh my God, I'm engaging my mom. And this is great because it makes sound. And it's also like,
bite it.
Right. Yep. Like, oh my God, silicone. And I'm like, this is it. Like,
because often I call them exploring. They're exploring in their environment by touching everything, and you can't leave things in front of some explorers in a residential system. I can in my system because they go in the mouth, right? And that's another form of experiencing what is this thing in front of me. So the great thing about what you're showing is if you're in the mainstream aged care system, that's not going to get taken away from someone with dementia. That's going to stay in front of them. And because all they're trying to do is work out what things are.
So silicone became like,
your best friend.
And the bucket is like, okay, I can do this in silicone. No, really. And this is also part of the play, because if somebody wants to rub on it, they can rub on it. Then I thought, okay, well, now what am I going to do? Because the mats get dirty. There's fidget toys. Those are already out here. It's gross.
Yeah.
You can't. And so I was like, okay, so every weekend I started bringing things. I'm like, oh my God, she's engaged. I couldn't talk to her anymore, but I could play with her. I mean, before that, I would go see and I'd cry. I just weep. I just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So when you can meet the person where they are.
I love what you just said, meeting people where they are. I just love it. And I think that's a big thing that people who are caregivers or loved ones forced into a caregiver role, they don't know what to do with people anymore. They're grieving every time they come in. And I used to say to families, if you can just put aside your grief and deal with it later, you're going to take up this whole time with your loved one crying, and they're going to feel that. They're emotional beings. Like maybe throw a ball to them, because I have this thing that no one can be upset when you're throwing a ball at them, and then it brings back memories of childhood. And who threw a ball to you when you were young? My dad. Where was that? Oh, by the ocean. And you're not like, you're setting them up not to fail, but have a conversation with you. And I had a guy that would always get anxious. So I just throw tennis balls at him. And I know that's probably not best practice, but it works.
Great. It's sublimating. It's what you do with your kids. I mean,
you're like suddenly like, whoa, I was in a bad mood.
And just because that person is still in there, it's just not the same. I always say, don't argue, react, or explain. Because there's no point. It's like banging your head up against the wall. Okay, they're going to fold the towel 900
I love
times.
that.
They're not going to get in the shower. By the way, these are all dishwasher safe.
It's like we go on autocorrect, but it's Tuesday, and don't you remember this is Bob? And there's so much like, no, they don't know it's Tuesday and they don't know who Bob is. Please stop. Just be in the moment, you know.
They get paranoid that she lost her purse, things like that. Well, you know what? That's because they can't remember. But there's a whole reasoning why, but they don't remember they've hid something. And it's like, what are you trying to do? Why are you arguing? There's no point. Like, it's the woulda, coulda, shoulda things. They're all a waste of time. You're working yourself up, and now you can't even share moments. So we can share moments. So, like, obviously poppers are out there, but I did the triangle because the triangles are really good. He had the clenched hand. It was really good to do things for the hand, right? All of these are malleable, right? You can't bite through this. This is solid. This is the right like tension. I mean, this is familiar, but and even this, it's something that they can stretch and make into a million different shapes, and the colors are pretty, and they can make it whatever and tug on it. But it's exercising the hands and arms, and they're never ever going to wear out. These are going to outlast everybody. This is my favorite, the shapes bucket. It's my personal favorite. Just
there's different ones.
I have 3. Orange. The shapes are inspired by Tetris and Lego, right?
Yeah.
The thing is so deliberate that I did, because the stars and the logo are reminiscent of like opening up the mind and the head. I mean, there's 10 pieces, but they're 4 shapes and 10 pieces. And there's a soft side, and they're substantial enough to stand them up or put them inside of one another, right? But like, so you can build a house, and you can do them like dominoes, and you can use the bucket inside or out, so they don't have to be laid flat, but there's endless possibility. So the flowers are in the yellow bucket, and
the flowers. Oh,
there's no wire in the stems. They're the only one. This is branded.
just love it.
There's no wire because they'll wear out if you did that, right?
Yeah.
And then
they push it
and then the stars, they can shove them in the side, and these are reinforced, so they're never going to tear, because this way they don't have to put them in the right way. And believe me, they won't, and they don't, and they really don't. I mean, they put them every which way, and it's totally fine.
And you're not failing. You're not failing because there's so many ways to do it. So
Clever. And what happens is, when they have a set of 3 buckets and I put them out in a community, they create everything. They build a village. They stack them on top of one another, and then you go, oh no, I know I've done the right thing. This is like magic. My heart swells when I see how creative these guys get. There's nothing like it.
I know it does feel like that when you have that aha moment. You're like, why did no one else do this first? So
those memories, like, I got to have that with her.
Yeah.
Okay, in the US, caregivers care. Unbelievable. That community was like, everybody needs to share. We all care. And it's from our experience, and the love is like, the hearts are huge. The community is they're not selfish. They just like are embracing one another. And that's what I'm finding as a newcomer, is like, oh, I got to introduce you to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And I just launched officially in January, right? My products got here at the end of last year, after 8 years. Literally, it takes forever. And COVID didn't help, right?
Yeah.
And I'm self-funded, right? I'm like, this is really hard. And the care home communities are corporate, bottom line. Oh, we don't have the money. What do you mean you don't have the money? You charge $300 a day. And this is a one-time buy. It's never going to wear out. What do you mean you don't have the money? They don't return your calls. And so, like, we're banging our heads. So why? Because we need to break that down. Like, that's where you're talking about who said that the whole thing's about the money. Reduce insurance by fall risk by 2%. They're going to save that money.
Yes.
Heartbeat. Caregiver. You give this to caregivers, and they can leave somebody alone for 10 minutes. All right. So if I can, like, we need to help each other. I'm here to make a difference. And ultimately, what I want to have happen is like a Bomba Socks. I don't know if you have that globally, but like, have a big foundation for everyone bought. Somebody is donating to have one given.
Oh, yes. Paying it forward, yes.
Paying it forward at cost, to somebody who really doesn't have it. So it could be an indigenous tribe in Australia. It can be, homeless. Well, I don't care, but
It could just be a nursing home that they won't buy the equipment.
That's the big mission, really, because it matters. I think it is really about disintegrating that culture. And, operations managers have to talk to people instead of numbers.
It is a dissolving of the walls and the barriers that divide us as being humans, really, isn't it? So
there's a gentleman I know who's all but 80, used to run aged care homes, and he said one of the biggest changes he saw happen that he thinks caused a lot of the impact of where we are is that once before, corporate office used to be at a care home. So the CEO was there, the operations manager, the lawyers.
yeah.
So they would have to walk past residents. They would walk past families going into their office. And now they have themselves in city centres, in a big corporate flashy building. That yes, they can go to one of their homes and see people, but they're not seeing it every day. They're not seeing Josie and saying hello to Josie every morning when they get to the office, or seeing Henry's family or the grandchildren, to keep that real humanistic part of your day every day, because it is easy to get lost in a computer. We all do
doesn't it also go down to that's where us and them, we're doing this job, and it's like cognitive dissonance. They've lost that connection that these are real people needing real support, and I'm here as a bureaucrat or in that role. So it's that us versus them. What a lovely privilege to meet you, Angela, as well. Thank you so much for coming today. And this
my pleasure. I mean, look, we're going to make a difference. I love the idea. I think it's so great. So I'm happy to do anything.
So exciting.
Signing off. So lovely.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.